Good morning and Happy New Year. This is Kathy, the Arty Mummy, and I must apologise. This video was supposed to be up the day after the first one, but for some reason my camera stopped recording and I ended up with half a video and had to redo the entire painting again for you guys. So again, sorry this has taken so long, but this picture here is how the one turned out that the background is that you may have been working on from the previous video. And I have a couple of examples here that show you how many different ways it can come out depending on how you do your background and how you do your mountains. This is the original one that I did as a pour as well, and another that was also a pour that has been made into a space galaxy scene, and the one that we're going to do today, this is how it turned out. So as you can see, they all come out great. There's no right or wrong way of doing it, and no two will ever be the same. So embrace that, and let's get in and enjoy the painting. So this is an alternative method of doing it. If you're a little bit less patient and you don't want to wait overnight for it to dry, we're going to do it with a sponge. So I like to use natural sea sponge. These are well loved, but they still work really well. So the first thing we're going to do is just get some colour down on this canvas so that we'll have a good base to work with. We're going to stick with the original palette of Mars Black, Phthalo Blue, Dioxazine Purple and Titanium White. I'm just getting those colours into my palette there. And we're going to pop the first layer on with the sponge. So I have a primed and gessoed 40 by 40 centimetre wrapped canvas, and I think we'll just go with the sponge. And so I'm just going to put some blue and some black straight on there. Sorry, purple and black. I'm just going to So I've got a fairly wet sponge. Now, first thing I'm going to do is just basically damp my canvas and get a little bit of colour on it, just like this. I want to keep things nice and quick and simple for you, because I think art should be relaxing. It should be good for the soul, not something that stresses you out or makes you feel inadequate or anything like that. I used to find painting to be my safe place when I was much younger. Just getting some of the blue and some of the purple again, and now I'm just going to start dabbing that on. And then my first child happened, and then my second, and drawing and painting kind of went out the window for quite a long time. I didn't have much time spare for it and didn't think it was that important. All focused on, being a good mum, and work and no play makes for a boring mummy. So after some more black on here, that's just Mars Black, so it's not as black as carbon black. So when my third son was stillborn, I kind of lost the plot a little bit, and needed to have an outlet. I said to my husband one day, get me a canvas and some paint, so I need to paint. And he did, and I did, and I haven't stopped painting since. And that's going on for 10 years ago now. And I find that now painting for me is like breathing, you know. I have to do it. It keeps me happy. It gives me an outlet. It gives me a release, a release of emotion, some quiet time, all those things that we need to be emotionally balanced. So painting is good for the heart and good for the soul. So I'm just dabbing away at this, not paying all that much attention to what I'm doing, except that I kind of want to leave a bit of a space around the middle here. I'm just going to sort of come into it a bit. Just randomly. And now I'm kind of starting to lift paint off as much as I'm putting it on. So I'm going to stop there. Well, sort of stop there. And allow that to dry. So I get a little bit more black over this blue so it's not such a straight line. Okay. So I'm going to let that dry and come back again soon. Okay, so we're dry now, and next step is to, where is it? Grab my purple. I might go somewhere clean because I'm a mucky pup. And blue. There's just phthalo blue and dioxazine purple. And I'm going to be getting some white and mushing that round in there. And now don't forget that we're just going to keep moving the sponge around in different directions so that we don't make a pattern of the shapes that make it up. This one's probably going to be a lot brighter than the last one that I did, and I have no idea how it's going to turn out. We're hoping for something along the lines of Northern Lights or something like that. So I've just allowed that blue and white to kind of mix on the canvas. Grab some purple, and white again. Same thing. Make sure that you keep plenty of paint on your sponge. Oh, that's getting really pretty. And go to slightly a bit more pure colour. Goodness. Add a bit of blue to it. Just going to get rid of some of those white spots I was getting on there. Just going to just keep working it round until we like the way it looks. And if you're wondering what that sound is in the background, it's Australian stormbirds, because I'm painting at night and they get quite active at night. The trick is to be quite random with it, really. A bit more blue on here. Oops. I'm not going to concern myself too much with the bottom third of the canvas, because we're going to be covering that up with our mountains. Add some more purple. A softer touch will work better, especially once you start getting some more sort of layers on there, because you don't want to be pulling paint off. I'm going to add just a touch more light up here. getting a little spot of white onto there. Just touching it here and there. Softening it out if I need to. Or using another part of the sponge. Do the same again with some blue and white. Purple's getting a little bit overpowering. Alright, I think we might leave it at that. Every time I say that, I'll go back and do a little bit more, but that's me. You'll get used to it. I'm just going to bring that down just a little bit below where I think my mountains will end up. And I think that's going to be great, so we're going to go straight into the next step. I'm actually going to give this all a rinse and then I'll be right back. Okay, welcome to part 2 of Icy Mountains. Now, if you've come from the original part 1, the reason this is different is because I didn't end up recording the second half of this video when I did it the first time, and now it's finished and I can't reproduce it exactly. So if you like this one better, go right ahead and watch the video I just posted. Having to redo this. And if you're watching for the first time, take your pick. One's more like a pour and this one's done with a sponge. So if you're a little bit more impatient, a sponge is a lot quicker. You don't have to wait for it to dry so long. So I have a little puddle, I don't know if you can see, of water in my... Oh, there it is. In my little palette there. Just gonna wash my hands. And the very first thing we're gonna do is pop some stars on here. So there's a couple of ways of doing it. I love the toothbrush, gives you plenty of control. Otherwise, any kind of sort of stiff bristled brush, I like your little house painting brushes are great, or a hog's hair brush. Any of your sort of stiff brush will work just fine too. Let's do both. See what different results we get. Never actually done both on one painting before, so nice little experiment. Okay, that's not quite wet enough. Bring that bit from there. There we go. So you want to have it quite a bit of a puddle there. And the other thing you want to do is grab anything, bit of paper, and just give it a little split first. That's fine. And I'm going to sort of try and go in the direction like this is the Milky Way or something up here. So it's giving me a fairly fine splatter. Well, there's some bigger ones in there, so that's cool. So I'm not worrying about the bottom third at all because we're going to go over that with the mountains. This one's really about the sky. Okay, let's have a go at the toothbrush. I'm going to get that right in there and make sure that there's plenty of paint on the bristles. And give them a little test run on this back of a packet. Beautiful. And so it gives a fairly equivalent splatter going on there. And now for some chunkier ones. Now I end up getting a bit of paper towel and knocking back those, the brightness of those a little bit, but if you like them, by all means keep them, so you don't have to do what I do in the next step. There we go. Now I think that's just a little bit too much for me. So if you find you've gone a little bit overboard with the white splatter or the larger dots, just get a little bit of paper towel, make a point, you can just, if you leave them for a moment as well, they make a neat little sort of a circle where it's come up. I'm going to take them all up, just forget to keep turning your paper if you're going to do that. Just going to bring them down a peg or two. There, I really like that. What do you think? I think that's nice. Okay, so straight into some mountains. I think we'll use carbon black. Put a fair bit of amount in there. Now I'm just going to grab my well-loved, I do not know what number that is, angle brush. Just choose something that's sort of a medium size to the canvas you've decided to use. Make sure that your brush is damp. And all we're going to do is just make a series of triangles. I'll go a little bit higher on the end here. You can have a bit of a flat bit if you want to, or you can, I'm going to go all the way across. And the trick is to not make them all the same. There's no need to be fussy with it, just go with the flow. Do whatever feels right, just remember to don't make soldiers because nature doesn't. By soldiers I mean all in a neat little row like that. We don't want that. We want some bigger ones, some smaller ones, some with pointy tops, some with less pointy tops. Taller, shorter, just like people, they come in all shapes and sizes. And we love them all. Right. Let's actually bring you up there. Right, and then we're just going to paint all that in. And here's my little girl up in the middle of the night. Okay, she's back to bed, and now that we have gotten this far, we're going to grab a little bit of our purple again. A little bit of our blue. Have those on the palette. If you chose different colours, just have those on your palette. And what we're going to do is just make up a very rough mix. So I mean to not completely mix them together. Tiny bit of white. So this is our sort of dark side shadow colour. You can just add a drop of black to that. And let's try him out. So we're going to go from our point and just go down one side of each of our peaks. Don't know if you can see that. This is what's going to give you a guide for the next step. So go a little bit jaggedy if you want, just however you feel like it. Again, don't fuss too much. It's one of the ways that you'll get nice natural looking mountains, is to just let it be however it turns out. Okay, so now that I've got that, I'm going to add a bit of white to the mix, a little bit more of the purple, and we're going to have our first layer of highlight or lit side of the mountain. So we're going to just come down and using that other side as a bit of a guide, I'm just going to dab your paint on. Dab, dab. Just watch those mountains start to emerge. So I'm just remembering though to keep your brush strokes in the diagonal. Okay. There's our first layer of our mountain range. Now, well, we've got this medium light purple colour going. I'll bring in some foreground. I'm just going to go really quite randomly with some diagonal brush strokes. I'm going to leave a bit of a gap in the middle. And we're also going to bring some into the mid-ground here. Don't worry if that sort of ends up merging with some of the other. We'll separate them in a little while. I'm just going to sort of bring them down to a line here somewhere. Keep these ones up here. Maybe bring in a little bit of water over this side as well. Okay. Now mix up a next shade of purple. Add a little bit of blue to it if you like. I said I like not quite mixing the colours. I'm just going to do it again, but having slightly shorter broken strokes. That'll start to define the separate faces of the mountains. Don't worry if yours starts looking like mine is at the moment there, like it's one big face. Like I said, we're going to come back and sort of separate those in a minute. Okay. Easy as. Yes? No? Maybe? Let me know. Okay, now again, we're going to go back to darker. certainly not completely black. Alright, now we're going to start to define the different shapes and give them a bit more variety so they're not all standing in a row like that. Some of them we'll bring down in front. Take a little bit of that paint off my brush. Make them a little bit more jagged. Some sort of smaller peaks in there. They'll start telling you where they're going, if that makes any sense. You'll probably hear me say it a bit if you follow me for a while. You'll hear me say a lot too. I'm a big believer in having or letting your painting talk to you. Tell you what it wants next. You've just got to listen. So I'm just using basically my Dioxazine purple and blue without any white in them for this. I'm just establishing some shape to these three-dimensional objects that we're trying to describe here. As I said, there's no need to be sort of too fussy with any of it. Just do what feels right. I'll bring that one out in the front. This one in front as well. You can make some shapes within the shapes here and there. Change the angle of your brush stroke a bit more, make some sort of flatter looking rocks. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm going to pick up a lot more white, mix that in. So I've got a much lighter, brighter colour, still with the same brush, and I'm just going to start really, like I said, letting them talk to me and tell me where those faces are. I'll give him a bit more of a angle up through there. This is a little bit easier if you let your paint dry between the coats, because my brush is picking up the colours that are underneath. You want to try and get a good variety of shapes and sizes going on with your marks. And aim to be brighter on the top edge. And less so. I've done that, I want to put another one in there. And less so as it might get down into the sort of parts that might be sort of more shadowed by other parts of the mountain range. As I come up to more in the foreground, I'm going to go a little bit brighter. So you can change the direction of your stroke every now and then and have some variety going in your angles of where the light hits. So I want this to come into the foreground and separate from this one in behind. So I'm just going to make it on a different angle. Just try and separate him out a bit. That'll end up changing the shape of that altogether. So we want to end up coming down to here somewhere, and then back here, and then in here. So this is the back edges of our lake, so to speak. Okay, we're getting there. Just going to get that darker colour again and fix up these couple that ended up changing. Because it's more in the foreground, it's okay that that's a lighter sort of purple blue. just go back and forward until you're happy. Bring these ranges right down to the water. And what are you doing in there? I think you want to go this way. I need to define that little bit a bit better. As we add layers, they'll just kind of happen. Just add a bit more tonal variation because we're going to come back and add the bright white. Just putting in some sort of random type brush strokes, you can really just build those rocks up. Okay, so what I want to do now is replicate this beautiful sky. And we're going to do it with a brush. And we're going to put our lovely water in. We're going to do that with a vertical brush stroke. So a little bit lighter. Pick up the purple and the blue and the white all on the brush together. It's going to go straight down like that. And because we haven't finished our mountains, we don't need to stress too much over whether we go over some tips or not. I'm just going to pull that colour down, a vertical stroke. Get your blues and your purples in there. So you don't necessarily want to mix your paint too much. Just drag it on down. We will be working on the water as well in a couple of layers, so again, don't stress yourself over it. What we have now is not what we're going to have in the end. We just want a bit of blue and a bit of purple, and just to establish where it is. And I'm pretty happy with that for now. Okay. Now, well, I've got that lovely mid-tone on there. I'll go back and just do like we did with the white. And just get some variety going on that shadow side, because even though it's shadowed, we don't want it to just be black. So it'd be a bit boring. too light. You don't want to totally cover up the black either. Just bring it right down there. Okay, so now you want to maybe halve the size of your brush. Angle brush or a flat brush will work. I'm going to get really light and bright now, just with a hint of colour. Gosh, it's just being too overpowering, so I'll go to a new spot. Right, so we've essentially got what we want, but there's just not enough brightness and definition in it. And now we're just going to go in and start to really catch the light on some of these faces. Take that one right up and off the page. Canvas. This foreground one, I'm going to give it a completely different angle to separate him. So I'm just trying to make a bit of a point there that goes out into the water. okay to put sort of some medium highlights in here and there as well, if you feel like you've got a bit too much black space. The trick is to not fill everything up. All these different tones of blue and purple and brighter whites and different shades all build to make that mountains get a lot of depth. Go and do that for. Never mind, there's nothing that can't be fixed. Don't forget to have a bit of moisture on your brush too. This is sort of essentially a dry brushing technique, but I do like that sort of more solid brush stroke that you get with a wetter brush. It's just comes out better. So I'm just going and highlighting the very top edge of some of these mountains. With the pure white. It's just titanium white. It's nothing fancy, just good old titanium. There's a couple of places where I don't feel like I quite got it. So it's no biggie. You just grab a bit of the other colour and go the other way. Separation there. No. So, you know, ice mountains will have all those sort of crevices and different parts that will be reflecting and picking up light, and just by going back and forth over the different the faces, you just really build that three-dimensional shapes. So there's no stress in it. You just do whatever tickles your fancy at the time. Not sure what's going on here. It's not talking to me very well. I think I need to bring these guys down. Now this one is more of a cliff. Starting to come together. Get the reflected light on there. And starting to be a bit happier with this. You'd think by the fourth time I've done this painting that it would be a walk in the park. So if you're struggling too, then I apologise, because the first 3 times I did it, it was a walk in the park. Just getting a little bit more reflected light onto that. Those ones further back, which will make the pure white stand out even more. Now I'm going to take a light and bright, and make some horizontal marks. If you're not comfortable doing a straight line, by all means use a credit card or something else. Okay, so now while that's still wet, so it's a bit too much at the moment, we're going to do our vertical pull down again and just break those lines up. Now we do want to be a little bit more careful about not going over the original. So we're going to do this little process a couple of times just to get the depth in that water that we want to have. So now what I'm going to look at is get that quite light and bright. Have plenty of moisture on the brush, and then wipe most of the paint off. And while that's still wet, we're going to look at where it might be reflecting the most, where there might be shadows kind of touching the water. Like that. Get a little bit of dark. Just the purple will do. Touch in a shoreline. You can pull that darker stroke down a little bit more where it coincides with dark on the mountain. And that's how we get our lovely, lovely reflection. In here a little bit. Just reinforce some of this shadowed sides. And again, add a little bit more dimension. Maybe some cracks and crevices, and I think I might put a little bit more highlight in a couple of places, but other than that we are pretty much done. Okay, two little things to do. I'm going to get my dark blue and purple and just add hint of horizontal marks still in this water, frozen lake. Possibly better to wait until it dries, but there we have it. You can once again sort of break that up a little bit if you feel the need, if you've done like I have just a little bit overboard. Just needs to be a hint. And then with a clean brush, I'm just going to do one last round of highlight on these peaks. You don't need to touch them all. I like to just do the just the sort of tops of where I imagine the light would be really catching. And now that we've brightened those up, we can go in one last time. there, I think we are finally done. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. I apologise for the lateness of this, but as I said, I ended up not recording half of it, so I had to start from scratch. But I do hope in the end you enjoyed the result, and please let me know how you went. Thank you so much for helping me to grow this channel, and if you like what we've been doing, please hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you next time. Thanks so much.